You'll get a lot.
Live, this is News Channel 8 at 6 with Ann Nyberg, Brian Burnell, Noah Finn Sports, and Jeff Fox with weather.
It's a real sad thing to see a family self-destruct like that. And
a murder-suicide in East Hartford leaves 2 children tonight without a family. Good evening, everybody. An 8-year-old little girl and her 6-month-old brother are the only members of the Silk family who got out of a fire alive.
Now police are trying to figure out what led their mother to kill her husband and set the house on fire, killing herself and 2 of the children. It happened early this morning on Passaro Drive. Police say 32-year-old Kelly Silk may have been suffering from some mental problems. We have team coverage tonight. Jane Saffer is at the Connecticut Children's Hospital in Hartford, but we'll begin in East Hartford with reporter Christina Hager. Christina?
Well, Brian, only 2 children managed to escape this slaughter alive, a 6-month-old baby boy and an 8-year-old girl. And now police are here at their home trying to figure out what would cause their mother to kill her family and then kill herself.
I saw a strange light, and my wife, as she attended her at the door, saw that her hair was on fire and maybe part of her back.
It was his neighbor, 8-year-old Jessica Silk. Just after 1 this morning, she was on fire and bleeding because her mother, 32-year-old Kelly Silk, had stabbed her. The woman had also stabbed her husband to death, 39-year-old Charles Silk. Then the mother set the house on fire with her 4 children inside. The 8-year-old girl had managed to escape from the back of the house, running across the street to the greenhouse you can see from here. A family friend, Reverend Chad Price, lives there.
She was probably as surprised as anyone, and she could not believe what had happened and probably wasn't sure. She said her mommy had a nightmare.
The mother and 3 children inside died from inhaling the smoke. 2-year-old Jonah Silk and 3-year-old Jennifer.
This lady was there. My daughter slept over that house many nights, too. It's like, whew.
Neighbor Arnold Passaro is now struggling with how to break the news to his daughter, a close friend of Jessica Silk.
And like we left out the graphic details, but we just kind of trying to slowly let her get into what's happening here. And I don't know. I think there's an easy way to do something like that.
Police say they believe the mother, Kelly Silk, had been under some kind of emotional stress. Police say it could have been postpartum depression. That, according to some family friends, although other friends have disputed that. We do know police had been here about a year ago because Kelly Silk had overdosed on Prozac and other medications she was taking to treat mental illness. My colleague Jane Saffer has been out talking with neighbors and family friends about who these people were. Jane?
Christina, friends and neighbors are struggling to understand tonight how this could happen to such a close-knit, deeply religious family. Now, the 2 children who survived the attack are both in serious condition. 8-year-old Jessica is here tonight at the Children's Medical Center. 6-month-old Joshua is in a Boston burn unit. And those folks who knew their mother, Kelly, are trying to figure out what could have caused her to snap.
She loved her children. When I saw her, she was so happy with that baby.
It's impossible for neighbors like Connie Paulus to understand how that is the same woman who police say attacked her family. This woman knew Kelly Silk her whole life.
She was a very, outgoing person. I mean, I never thought she would do anything like this. I really don't think so. Because who would do this? I mean, to her children.
That is the same question many in this East Hartford community are asking about a family that was active in their church. Joe Amato knew Kelly's husband, Charles.
Very well-mannered, very nice man, a very kind and considerate man, and he was my best friend.
Amato says Charles confided in him that his wife suffered postpartum depression after her 2-year-old son, Jonah, was born.
She had postpartum depression, and she had that feeling of hopelessness, but she was, determined that this would pass.
On Sunday, he says Charles told him she was depressed again. That's when he gave this advice.
Maybe you should bring her to the doctor and get some medicine for her or something like that. Let her take an antidepressant or something like that. And he said, okay.
But fellow church members say she didn't get the help in time. Today, some were too distraught to talk with us. And as the adults in the community try to cope with this unthinkable tragedy, those who know 8-year-old Jessica, who survived the attack, are having a tough time as well.
She was very kind. She was always she always was there for me if something happened.
Now, 8-year-old Jessica is a student at the Emmanuel Christian Academy in Newington. Her father, Charles, I'm told, worked in a small print shop on the Bloomfield-Hartford line. Her mom, Kelly Silk, was a stay-at-home mom. And tonight there will be a prayer service at the Truth Baptist Church. That is where the Silk family went to church. The service is intended to help those folks who knew this family and are trying to cope with the loss tonight. Brian, back to you.
So many people trying to cope. Jane
Certainly
at the
are.
hospital, Christina Hager at the home, thank you. And keep it here on News Channel 8. We'll have the latest on this tragedy as we continue to cover it as the story unfolds.
A Hartford police officer has been suspended after charges of police corruption involving threats made to a prostitute. Salvatore Gallo was at the federal courthouse today where he was charged with pressuring a prostitute into having sex. According to the indictment, Officer Gallo coerced a woman into his patrol car, then forced her to have sex. If she did not, he said he was going to arrest her. Gallo is the 5th Hartford officer arrested in a federal probe.
For every officer, sure, it hits home. Because you come out here to do your job, and then something like this happens.
So you don't believe the allegations, then?
All I know is you're innocent until you're proven guilty. And he has that right just like everybody else.
Officer Gallo is out on $50,000 bond and has been suspended without pay. A new report paints a disturbing picture of mental health care at the state's only prison for women. Court-appointed psychiatrists prepared the report after 2 inmates committed suicide at the York Correctional Facility. The panel found inmates with mental health problems were being left strapped to beds and were doped up for months. News Channel 8's Peter Standring reports.
This is Carolyn Adams. She's an inmate at York Prison, and she has serious mental health problems. Her husband says she needs medication and regular counseling, but he's worried she's not getting it.
I don't think she's getting the level of psych services that she needs. She's very much of a victim waiting to happen to her.
Now, a trio of independent psychiatrists is backing up what Goodwin is saying. The panel's just issued this report, painting a very disturbing picture of mental health care at the prison. The psychiatrists came here to York last month on the heels of 2 recent inmate suicides. Based on what they were told and what they saw, they concluded that mentally ill inmates are not being looked after properly. In all, they found 21 violations. Among them, powerful drugs were administered incorrectly. Inmates waited for days for medication. Inmates waited for weeks for psychiatric evaluations. And nurses did not check on restrained inmates consistently. It's what corrections officers have been saying for months.
We need more staff here at York in order to cope with this kind of situation, because these are the men and women who are going to be held accountable.
A DOC spokeswoman says, quote, "We're concerned about the allegations and we're investigating them each item one at a time, and we'll address the concerns that have merit." According to the Healthcare Workers Union, though, all the allegations have merit. In fact, they say the problems are a result of being short-staffed and poorly trained. In essence, they say it's not their fault.
They do their best, and their best is often very good, but it isn't adequate to meet the needs of a growing population of the mentally ill in our prison system.
Now, this panel of psychiatrists sent its report directly to a judge in Bridgeport, and it's going to be up to her to decide what to do, if anything, with it. The Connecticut Civil Liberties Union is urging her to order the DOC to take steps immediately to try to fix the problems at York. However, according to the DOC, they're already in the progress of taking those steps, and they insist, Dan and Brian, that things will get better. Back to you.
Let's hope so. All right, Peter, thanks.
The Galleria Mall at Long Wharf is a step closer to reality now that the legislature has approved $28 million in funding for the project, but there is still a debate on whether the mall is a good idea. And tonight, it's the public's turn to speak out on the issue. News Channel 8's Judy Chong is live at Hill Regional Career High School in New Haven with the story. Judy?
Well, Brian, I can tell you this is going to be a lively public hearing tonight. About 100 people called the New Haven Board of Aldermen's office in advance to reserve a spot to have their voices heard. This public hearing is getting underway as we speak, and people are showing up with dozens of signs and placards both for and against the proposed $500 million Long Wharf Galleria. The sign-up sheets are already filling up. A lot of different groups here tonight, organized forces, union groups, and regular citizens who want to register their opinion.
And essential that this mall is going to be built. A lot of people out there don't think that it's a good idea, but I think it's a good thing for the city.
I have some concerns, and I'd like to voice them. I'm not sure if this is going to be something that's good for New Haven.
Now, so far, this is the only public hearing scheduled. There could be another one, depending on what happens tonight. There are a series of public meetings for the board members to deliberate. A final vote is scheduled for August 2nd. Back to you, Brian.
Judy, do you know if they'll let everyone who wants to talk, or is there a cutoff on this?
Well, it's unlikely that everybody will get a chance to speak. This meeting is expected to last 5 to 6 hours, so a good chunk of people. But when it comes to something so controversial, there might be some people left out.
Yeah, all right. Thanks, Judy.
The mall project was just one of many issues debated at the close of the legislative session.
Up next on News Channel 8 at 6, a look back at some of the new laws passed, laws that could affect you. Jeff?
Just a gorgeous day today. Take a look at our SchoolNet station at the Troop Magnet Academy in New Haven. 74 was the high, dew point low, and the temperature a comfortable 67. I've got the forecast in just a few minutes.
We're taking a little bit of the newest Walt Disney World theme park and bringing it a lot closer to you. It's Disney's Animal Kingdom Adventure Outpost, and it's coming to Hartford. Enjoy a magical stage show, dig for dinos, and see your favorite Disney friends. Join News Channel 8 when Disney comes to Bushnell Park June 12th and 13th. And stay tuned to News Channel 8 for details on how you can win a Walt Disney World vacation. Disney's Animal Kingdom Adventure Outpost. Don't miss the adventure.
The attempt to stop the Long Wharf Mall almost caused a legislative train wreck at the state capitol last night. In the end, a compromise was reached, and lawmakers finished up most of their work by the midnight deadline. There's a little left to do, though, on Monday. Chief Capitol Correspondent Mark Davis has a look at everything that was accomplished in this session.
When the General Assembly finished most of its business early today, there was the now customary praise from Governor Rowland.
First, I want to congratulate all of you on completing a very successful session.
The governor and the leadership got a lot of what they wanted. The governor got another round of tax rebates. The leadership got a $500 property tax credit. The 6% sales tax on home improvements will be phased out over the next 3 years. Financially strapped hospitals get a break on sales and gross receipt taxes. Plus a tuition tax freeze for the state college and university system, a freeze on fares on the Metro-North rail line, a huge bonding package for the redevelopment of Hartford in the aftermath of the Patriots debacle, a plan to end social promotions in public schools in favor of more summer school, a managed care ombudsman and new measures to require insurance coverage for Lyme disease and coverage for birth control devices, a tougher anti-drunk driving law, but not the lowering to .08 standard that some wanted. Police also will not be allowed to stop someone based on race or ethnicity. Another bill allows police to seize guns from people they think are a danger to themselves or others. And on the last night, House Speaker Moira Lyons successfully negotiated with opponents to the New Haven Mall an unprecedented agreement to limit debate to less than 1 hour, so that opponents could say why they didn't want it and get an up or down vote.
I felt in doing it this way, the debate could be controlled, it could be succinct, they would get their chance, it would not go on for a couple of hours, and I think it was a good resolution.
As you probably know now, the Stop the Mall vote failed by a vote of 89 to 59, and the Speaker's attempt to accommodate those anti-mall legislators probably is the reason the Assembly will have a short special session next week. Just a handful of real, I guess 2, 3, or 4 technical bills didn't make it as the deadline ran out, the clock ran out at midnight. But the first woman Speaker of the House says today she enjoyed the experience of bringing people together and declared her first session a success. Ann?
Okay, Mark, did any important bills fail in this session?
Well, of course, that depends on your point of view. The territorial ratings for auto insurance bill failed, although the insurance companies say that's good because if they had equalized the rates for everyone, that we all would end up paying more. Bill to allow both members of a gay couple to adopt children failed. Plan to tax you when you sell your home to raise money to buy open space failed. And the pro-life legislators lost out on a bid to ban partial birth abortion, although many say we already have that.
All right, Mark, thanks very much.
Coming up on News Channel 8, you can start making plans for outdoor activities for the weekend because it's going to be a beauty.
Jeff Fox will have the forecast coming up. But first, here's Dan Taney with a look ahead at sports.
The New York Knickerbockers are one win away from the NBA Finals. We'll recap last night's late-night heroics against Indiana. Plus, the Beast have 1 day left to find a new NHL affiliation, and they may have found one. We'll tell you who they're looking at coming up in sports.
You know her as the Consumer Team 8 reporter. And now, News Channel 8's Anna Sava adds another role. Co-anchor of Good Morning Connecticut on News Channel 8.
Come to shop. Jeff was just talking about his cruise line experiences.
Oh, no, this was a long time, like over 20 years ago. Three of us I was single at the time. We went on this cruise, and we're waiting for dinner. We're saying, well, you know, it's a little bit old. And as we're saying this, some guy grabs my friend's sleeve and collapses right there.
Barry, or?
That was Barry. Yeah. Grab Barry's sleeve and collapsed.
You should hear the rest of it.
Yeah, I'll be telling this in the parking lot later. Thanks a load. Here we go. Radar screen shows some heavy thunderstorms now working out of the plains in across the Mississippi and toward Lake Michigan. Busy airports here, here, and here. So this will gunk things up a little bit later tonight. A look at where the severe weather is, at least where it's expected, is from central Wisconsin, including Milwaukee, down through Chicago and through about the center of the state of Illinois. Here's a look at the cloudiness, because I want to show you what happened this morning. We had clouds here over Connecticut, but they have sagged down. Cold front moving from the north to the south. Well, of course, they normally move from the north to the south, but it has more of an easterly component, or a westerly, moving from the east and then down to the south. We call those backdoor cold fronts. They don't normally come here, and a lot of times, especially this time of year, the backdoor cold fronts just get here and stop. They sort of stall out, and we'll have 3 or 4 really awful days, normally after I've predicted 3 or 4 sunny days. So this time it worked perfectly. The front just went on down, and the sunshine came out, and I expect the sunshine to stay with us because the front's just going to stay down to the south. In fact, it'll fizzle before anything bad happens. High pressure builds in from the east, another weird occurrence, and this front out to the west is going to be a really slow mover. So at this point, tomorrow looks nearly perfect, just about as nice as a day can be, and Saturday and Sunday are not chopped liver either. 71 in Preston, 66 in Woodbridge, 72 in Bridgeport, 73 in Terryville and Winston, 77 in East Windsor and East Hartford. Here's the forecast tonight. Clear, cool, and calm, 52 on the shoreline, 48 inland, light winds. Then for tomorrow, sunny and comfortably dry, 73 on the shoreline, 80 inland. And the extended forecast, we're looking for a chance of precipitation Monday and Tuesday, even a chance of some thunder, but the weekend looks great. Maybe at 11 I'll tell everybody what happened when I got off the ship and with the seagull, but that's
no,
its own story.
No, I
won't.
And then we could go back to old prom stories, too.
No, no, we've gone back far enough. Okay. Coming up in sports, the Beast of New Haven may have found a new NHL affiliation. Dan Taney has the details.
And if you had the Pacers in 5, you lost. Dan has the latest on the Knicks coming up.
For the first time.
Welcome back, everyone. Last week, a New York newspaper conducted a poll to see whether Knicks fans wanted Jeff Van Gundy back as the Knicks coach. 78% said yes, and I'll bet that number's a lot higher today because the Knicks are only 1 win away from making the NBA Finals after beating the Pacers last night in Indiana. Marcus Camby, man, the Hartford boy had 21 points, 13 rebounds, 6 block shots, all off the bench. They're down by 14 points after the first quarter. No problem. Latrell Sprewell broke out for a big game. 29 points. Larry Johnson was big with some key threes in the fourth. Reggie Miller had 30 points, and the Knicks still won. 101-94. They now lead that series 3-2. I
don't want to come out and be too overconfident and not come out and play Knick basketball. We're right there. We're in the perfect position to close it out at home, and we definitely don't want to come back here.
It's just too bad for us that some guys are confident and some guys talk it, but they can't walk it, you know. I mean, it's some guys didn't show up tonight.
In case you've forgotten that the Boston Celtics used to be an incredibly amazing team that always won the title, 5 former Celtics were nominated for the Hall of Fame today, including the legendary Kevin McHale. Dennis Johnson, Joe White, and Wayne Embry joined McHale on the list. And John Thompson is also a nominee. The longtime Georgetown coach played for the Celts as well back in the 60s. The selections will be made on June 21st. It's the official opening night for the WNBA. Rebecca Lobo and the New York Liberty host Cleveland, while Nikisha Sales and Orlando take on the 2-time champion Houston Comets. Now, on to some hockey. The deadline is tomorrow for the Beasts of New Haven to find a new NHL affiliation, or there may not be hockey in New Haven next year. The Beasts lost their affiliation with the Carolina Hurricanes yesterday, but they are talking with 3 different NHL teams right now in hopes of coming up with a new deal. Our sources say they may have a chance at landing the Detroit Red Wings. Detroit's contract with Adirondack expired this year, so that may be an option. Whatever the case, the team remains confident about keeping hockey in New Haven.
Like I said, we have support at the AHL level. Even with the Hurricanes and the Panthers who were here before, they're helping us with these clubs about how good it was to work with their minor league prospects in this organization. So we're pulling out everything we can to make it come together, and we're going to try to do that.
Checking in on some minor league baseball this afternoon, the New Britain Rockettes were swept in 3 straight by Portland, 6-2 the final today. And before we leave tonight, Mets manager Bobby Valentine was ejected from last night's game against Toronto in the 12th inning, which means you're supposed to leave. But Bobby came back in disguise to watch the game. This is him incognito. Do you recognize him? And I'll bet he was very glad to come back, because the Mets won in 14 innings, 4-3, and they rallied from 3 runs down in the 9th.
Has that ever happened before?
Not that I can recall.
Let's say an umpire recognized Bobby, cut through that disguise. Could he have been fined or suspended or whatever?
He probably would have been fined or whatnot. Well,
he will be now.
Well, just don't tell anybody, Jeff. Then he'd be fine.
Yeah, who's watching, right?
It was his brother. It was his cousin.
That's right.
We'll continue to debate this and see you back here tonight at 11.